Well, international relations consultant Dr. Charles Sinkala joins us for more on that topic. Good evening, and thank you for joining us here on Late Edition.
Good evening. Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
What do you think about Trump's latest utterances about South Africa?
I think the continuous allegations made by President Trump are unfounded and lack of evidence. And I think we thought that the trip to United States of America, the trip that we saw that the president of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, and his cabinet and many other officials had went to demonstrate that there is not actually what they attempt to be the white genocide, but there is a crime problem in South Africa, but you cannot categorize it that there's actual farm murders has persistently, and it keeps on coming back. I think we have to look at what other aspects which are connected to it. But South African government has consistently, like I mentioned, denied these claims, emphasizing that there is a broader narrative of what the word or the sentence white genocide that has been debunked by human rights groups and others. But from the international law perspective, Trump's statements could be seen as an interference in South Africa's internal affairs, potentially violating the principle of sovereignty and a non-interference enshrined in the United Nations Charter, Article 2, subsection 7. The International Court also, as well of Justice, has addressed similar issues in cases like the Nicaragua and United States in 1986, where the court stated that states have a duty not to intervene or interfere in internal affairs of any other states.
What are your views on what Solidarity has said about Trump's latest post, I suppose, on Truth Media?
Well, my view personally, I feel that they adding fuel to the fire as the organization has continued to, to start picking up pockets in terms of where issues are, like mentioning of what is happening at the Cape Flats and many other parts, and as well as describing the term farm murders. There's no actual what is called a farm murders. There's no targeting of farmers in South Africa, but there's a general crime, which cannot be categorized, whether it is gender-based violence or crimes against white farmers or minorities. It's just general, like any other nations in the world. We can give an example to United States of America. I haven't seen or haven't heard of South Africa picking either shooting in schools or, an attack on black people in the United States of America, like Floyd was killed, and many other crime-related aspects which has been picked than the way they single-handedly pointing at South Africa to intentionally targeting the minority white farmers and describing it as a white genocide. I think there's a bigger picture towards in terms of the influence, in terms of how South Africa international policies has been grafted, which I think they would like to change that. United States of America relations with South Africa has never been on a good note, as we've seen in the history during the apartheid. United States of America refused to assist the liberation movement, especially the ANC, and the revolving or the transition from apartheid to the new South Africa, and they've continued to persist, to have their enemies to be South African enemies, which of course we can't forget to repeat what Nelson Mandela said, that the world thinks that their enemies is our enemies.
I appreciate your comments there, but when you say that the United States sees South Africa as our enemy, as their enemies, have I understood you correctly?
United States of America would like to relate to other nations in terms of bilateral, multilateral relations. For instance, if South Africa supports Palestine and the United States of America supports Israel, South Africa should change their policy in terms of viewing it in support of Palestine. They must change and start supporting Israel. That's why I'm saying that, you know, they would like to believe that whatever the relations that they have, whoever is their enemies, the enemies of other nations that they relate to, either bilaterally or multilaterally.
Finally, how is the United States' absence from the G20 going to affect the gathering?
It is disappointing that United States, you know, it is one of the countries that has been viewed to be, you know, part of the economical web, you know, in the world, and mostly it is quite involved into a lot of humanitarian aspects in terms of either USAID or PEPFAR or any other bilateral, multilateral relations to the G20 nations, and as well some of the issues that will be tabled up by the G20 here in South Africa has to be, you know, addressed to the United States of America to answer those difficult questions such as the sanctions in Zimbabwe, questions that you know, the president of United States of America, Trump, you know, unilaterally, you know, utters words which are inconsistent with the international law. Like recently, he mentioned about Nigeria, you know, in terms of, you know, Nigeria targeting Christians, untrue stories, you know, which I don't know if he just thinks about them and just say it like that,
Right.
undiplomatically.
Dr. Charles,
So those are...
Dr. Charles, I'm so sorry to cut you off there, but we've run out of time. Thank you so much for joining us here on the late edition. That was International Relations Consultant Dr. Charles Sinkala chatting to us there.